All India Radio presents Morning News. Good morning. I am Saira Mujtaba and with me is Sarabjeet Kaur. The headlines. In a setback to Prime Minister Imran Khan, Pakistan Supreme Court declares dismissal of no confidence motion as unconstitutional. Orders to hold trust vote tomorrow. Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana completes 7 years today. Home Minister Amit Shah says Hindi should be accepted as an alternative to English and not to local languages. Presides over 37th meeting of the Parliamentary Official Language Committee. Madras High Court upholds Tamil Nadu government's order giving 7.5% reservation to government school students for admission in MBBS and other medical courses. Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister Y. Jagan Mohan Reddy dissolves his cabinet to bring in new ministers. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar and Defence Minister Rajnath Singh to attend India-US 2+2 ministerial dialogue in Washington. UN General Assembly votes to suspend Russia from its Human Rights Council. US Senate confirms Ketanji Brown Jackson as US Supreme Court judge, the first black woman to be elevated to the post. In Korea Open Badminton, PV Sindhu and Kidambi Srikanth play the quarter-final matches today. And in IPL cricket, Lucknow Super Giants beat Delhi Capitals by 6 wickets. In a setback to Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan, the country's Supreme Court has ruled that the rejection of the no-confidence motion by the Deputy Speaker in the National Assembly was unconstitutional. A 5-judge bench of the court delivered the unanimous verdict yesterday. It also ordered the reinstatement of the National Assembly in contravention of President Arif Alvi's decision to dissolve the lower house of Parliament and declared the order of fresh elections as null and void. In addition, the top court ruled that the National Assembly session on the no-confidence motion must be held tomorrow and must not be adjourned until a vote on the motion. The court reinstated the National Assembly as well as declaring that the Prime Minister and Federal Ministers, Ministers of State and Advisers stand restored to their respective offices as on 3rd of April. The apex court said that if Imran Khan is removed as a result of the no-confidence motion, the new leader of the House should be elected in the same session. After the court's decision, Prime Minister Imran Khan has called a cabinet meeting today and also announced plans to address the nation. If Imran Khan loses, he will be the first Prime Minister of Pakistan to be removed through a no-trust vote. 2 other Prime Ministers against whom a no-confidence motion was called resigned before the vote. Last Sunday, minutes before the voting was to be held for the no-trust motion against the government, Deputy Speaker Qasim Suri dismissed the motion saying the motion was against the Constitution and cited security issues. India has said it desires normal neighbourly relations with Pakistan while asserting that the onus is on Islamabad to create a conducive atmosphere. In a written reply in Rajya Sabha yesterday, Minister of State for External Affairs V. Muralidharan said, India's consistent position has been that it desires normal neighbourly relations with Pakistan and is committed to addressing issues, if any, bilaterally and peacefully, in an atmosphere free of terror, hostility and violence. He added that the onus is on Pakistan to create such a conducive atmosphere. The minister was asked about media reports stating that the advisor to Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan backs resumption of trade ties with India.
Today is the 7th anniversary of Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana PMMY. The scheme was launched by Prime Minister Narendra Modi on 8th April 2015 for providing loans up to 10 lakh rupees to the non-corporate, non-farm, small or micro enterprises. Our correspondent has the details.
More than 34 crore 42 lakh loans for an amount of 18.60 lakh crore rupees have been sanctioned since the launch of Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana. Around 68% of the total number of loans have been sanctioned to women entrepreneurs. Almost 22% of the loans have been given to new entrepreneurs. The scheme has helped in creating an enabling environment, particularly for small businesses, and has helped generate large-scale employment opportunities at the grassroots level. Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana has given wings to the dreams and aspirations of millions, along with a feeling of self-worth and independence. Anupam Mish, AR News, Delhi.
Home Minister Amit Shah has said time has come to make the official language an important part of the unity of the country. He said Hindi should be accepted as an alternative to English and not to local languages, adding that when persons from states which speak other languages communicate with each other, it should be in the language of India. The Home Minister presided over the 37th meeting of the Parliamentary Official Language Committee in New Delhi yesterday. On the occasion, he unanimously approved the sending of the 11th volume of the committee's report to the President of India. Mr. Shah said that the pace at which the current Official Language Committee is working has rarely been seen before. He said that sending 3 reports to the President of India in the same tenure of the committee is a joint achievement of all. The chairperson of the Official Language Committee, Amit Shah, said that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has decided that the medium of running the government is the official language, and this will definitely increase the importance of Hindi. He said that unless we make Hindi flexible by accepting words from other local languages, it will not be propagated. Mr. Shah informed members that now 70% of the agenda of the cabinet is prepared in Hindi.
The Madras High Court has upheld the Tamil Nadu government's order giving 7.5% reservation for admission in the MBBS and other medical courses to government school students. After hearing a batch of petitions against the order, the first bench led by Chief Justice Munishwar Nath Bhandari pronounced its verdict yesterday. The court said the state government has not stretched the reservation limit beyond the ceiling while issuing the order. It said the government school students are mostly at a disadvantageous position economically and socially than those studying in private or government-aided schools, adding the inner reservation helps further the cause of social justice. The High Court, however, asked the government to improve the standard of government schools in the next 5 years. Chief Minister M.K. Stalin and several leaders have hailed the judgment. Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister Y. Jagan Mohan Reddy has dissolved his Council of Ministers to bring in new ministers. The matter to this effect was discussed in the cabinet meeting yesterday. The ministers have submitted their resignation letters in proper format. The new ministers will take oath on April the 11th, sources said. The new cabinet is likely to have representation from each of the newly formed 26 districts, and the Chief Minister is looking at other parameters also in giving away the portfolios. Mr. Reddy is likely to meet the governor today to hand over the finalized list of names who will be sworn in as ministers.
BJP is celebrating Social Justice Fortnight, which will continue till 20th of this month. Today's focus is on Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. Yesterday, on the first day, focus was on Ayushman Bharat scheme. Briefing media in New Delhi yesterday, party leader and Union Minister of State for Health, Dr. Bharti Praveen Pawar said, Ayushman Bharat scheme has been very helpful in delivering health schemes to villages too. She said under the scheme, there is provision to set up health and wellness centers, and in these centers, people are getting health checkups, expert doctors' consultations. Party spokesperson Sambit Patra said to commemorate the 42nd Foundation Day of BJP, the party is focusing on different schemes on different days.
100 करोड़ परिवारों तक अर्थात लगभग 50 करोड़ व्यक्तियों को 5 लाख रुपए तक की चिकित्सा मुफ्त मुहैया कराना यह आयुष्मान भारत का मुख्य बिंदु है। यह कोई छोटा विषय नहीं है, ये एक बहुत बड़ा कीर्तिमान है और इसी कारण से पूरे विश्व में अगर सही मायने में देखा जाए तो स्वास्थ्य क्षेत्र में, हेल्थ सेक्टर में पूरे विश्व का अगर सबसे बड़ा अचीवमेंट कोई है तो वो आयुष्मान भारत है हिंदुस्तान का, ये कहना अतिशयोक्ति नहीं होगा।
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that the government has reached an important step in its resolve to provide a pakka house to every poor of the country. In a tweet, Mr. Modi said, the construction of more than 3 crore houses has been possible only with the participation of the people. He said today these houses equipped with basic facilities have also become a symbol of women empowerment. Under the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Rural, 2.52 crore pakka houses have been built, and under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Urban, over 58 lakh pakka houses have been built.
Both houses of parliament have been adjourned sine die. The second part of the budget session was scheduled to end today. In Lok Sabha, Speaker Om Birla yesterday informed the House that the session had a total of 27 sittings for a total of 177 hours and 50 minutes. Making the concluding remarks, the Speaker highlighted that the House recorded 129% productivity during the session.
You are listening to the morning news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. In a setback to Prime Minister Imran Khan, Pakistan Supreme Court declares dismissal of no confidence motion as unconstitutional, orders to hold trust vote tomorrow. Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana completes 7 years today. Home Minister Amit Shah says Hindi should be accepted as an alternative to English and not to local languages. Presides over the 37th meeting of the Parliamentary Official Language Committee. Madras High Court upholds Tamil Nadu government's order giving 7.5% reservation to government school students for admission in MBBS and other medical courses. Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister Y.S. Jagan Mohan Reddy dissolves his cabinet to bring in new ministers. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar and Defence Minister Rajnath Singh to attend India-US 2+2 ministerial dialogue in Washington. UN General Assembly votes to suspend Russia from its Human Rights Council. US Senate confirms Ketanji Brown Jackson as US Supreme Court judge, the first black woman to be elevated to the post. In Korea Open Badminton, PV Sindhu and Kidambi Srikanth play their quarter-final matches today, and in IPL cricket, Lucknow's Super Giants beat Delhi Capitals by 6 wickets. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
कॉम्पिटिटिव एग्जाम्स की तैयारी कर रहे परीक्षार्थियों के लिए एक विशेष कार्यक्रम अभ्यास। आपके होंगे सवाल और हमारे विशेषज्ञ देंगे उसका जवाब। आप अपने सवाल रिकॉर्ड कर हमें भेजें व्हाट्सएप नंबर 9289094044 पर या फिर ईमेल करें abhyas.airnews@gmail.com पर। आपका अभ्यास हमारा प्रयास।
अपने बिजनेस को बढ़ाने के लिए लीजिए आकाशवाणी का सहयोग और दीजिए उसे बुलंदियों के पंख।
आपका बिजनेस लोकल है या राष्ट्रीय, आकाशवाणी देती है उपभोक्ताओं तक पहुंचने का हर विकल्प।
और अब तो आप घर, दफ्तर या दुकान पर बैठे बैठे कर सकते हैं आकाशवाणी के किसी भी केंद्र के लिए विज्ञापनों की बुकिंग।
आकाशवाणी के विभिन्न चैनलों पर विज्ञापन देना सुलभ और सस्ता।
बुकिंग है तो संपर्क करें 8700014242 पर
8700014242।
Welcome back. You're listening to the morning news. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar and Defence Minister Rajnath Singh will head the Indian delegation at the India-US 2+2 dialogue in Washington on the 11th of this month. The US delegation will be led by Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Secretary of Defence Lloyd Austin. Briefing the media in New Delhi last evening, External Affairs Ministry spokesperson Arindam Bagchi said the dialogue would enable both sides to undertake a comprehensive review of the India-United States bilateral relations. He said the dialogue will also provide the opportunity to exchange views about important regional and global developments and how both the countries can work together to address common interests and concerns.
The dialogue would enable both sides to undertake a comprehensive review of cross-cutting issues in the India-US bilateral agenda related to foreign policy, defense and security, with the objective of providing strategic guidance and vision for further consolidating the relationship. EM will also separately meet his US counterpart, Secretary Blinken. EM is also scheduled to meet senior members of the US administration to further advance the India-US comprehensive global strategic partnership.
India has welcomed the announcement by the International Energy Agency for a collective oil stock release of 120 million barrels. The Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas said in a statement, India has taken note of the US government's decision last month to release 180 million barrels from its strategic petroleum reserves over the next 6 months to calm rising global fuel prices. The ministry said, being a major consumer of energy, India has consistently espoused the importance of stable, affordable and accessible global energy markets. It said government hopes that these initiatives will bring equanimity to global energy markets.
The United Nations General Assembly has voted in favor of the suspension of Russia from the UN Human Rights Council. A vote on whether or not to suspend Russia from the Human Rights Council took place after the US envoy to the UN, Linda Thomas-Greenfield, made a case for it. The resolution received a 2/3 majority of those voting minus abstentions in the 193-member assembly, with 93 nations voting in favor and 24 against. 58 nations, including India, abstained from the process. The meeting marked the resumption of a special emergency session on the Russian military action in Ukraine and followed reports of violations committed by Russian forces. The Ministry of External Affairs said that India has established economic relations with Russia and the focus is on stabilizing these relations in the current circumstances. Replying to a query on US Deputy NSA Dalip Singh's remarks on India's trade with Russia, Ministry spokesperson Arindam Bagchi yesterday said, India has been very open about it and clear regarding its position. He emphasized that energy flows to Europe are continuing and fertilizer purchasing has been insulated. He stressed that political coloring should not be attributed to India's actions.
India is planning to issue e-passports to its citizens starting in 2022-23. This will be a combined paper and electronic passport with an embedded radio frequency identification chip and antenna embedded as an inlay in the back cover. In a written reply in the Rajya Sabha yesterday, Minister of State for External Affairs V. Muralidharan said, the passport's critical information will be printed on its data page as well as stored in the chip. He said the characteristics of the document and the chip are specified in International Civil Aviation Organization, Document 9303. Mr. Muralidharan informed that the ministry has entrusted the National Informatics Center with the technical responsibilities for issuing the e-passport. India has achieved its highest ever merchandise exports of $417.8 billion. The Commerce and Industry Ministry said that India has achieved the highest monthly value of merchandise export in March this year, amounting to $40.38 billion. This is an increase of 14.53% over $35.26 billion in March last year. India crossed $400 billion merchandise exports in current financial year, 9 days ahead of schedule.
The Senate of the United States has confirmed Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson for the Supreme Court in a largely partisan vote. The Senate voted 53 to 47 to confirm Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, making her the first black woman elevated to the Supreme Court. 3 Republicans joined the Democrats and Independents in supporting Jackson to be the first African American woman on the highest court. President Joe Biden termed Jackson's confirmation as a historic moment for the U.S. And now let's listen to our special program, Azadi Ka Safar, highlighting the importance of the day during the freedom struggle.
Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav.
Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. Birth of a Nation. India's glorious freedom struggle is one of the greatest struggles the modern world has ever witnessed. AIR News brings you a glimpse of the struggle every day.
Today we remember Mangal Pandey, whose courage helped arouse the fire of independence in the hearts of native sepoys. Mangal Pandey hailed from Balia district of Uttar Pradesh. He was a sepoy of the 34th Infantry stationed at Barakpur.
In 1857, the Britishers introduced a new Enfield rifle that required a soldier to bite off the ends of greased cartridges in order to load the weapon. A rumor spread that the lubricant used in the cartridges was either cow or pig lard. A belief arose among the sepoys that the British had deliberately used the lard on the cartridges.
On March the 29th, 1857, Pandey tried to arouse his fellow sepoys to rise up against the British officers.
यही मौका है, इस बार या उस बार। आग ऐसी लगी है दिलों में, ना बुझेगी किसी के बुझाए।
He attacked 2 of those officers, attempted to shoot himself after having been restrained, and eventually was overpowered and arrested. Pandey was soon tried and sentenced to death. He was court-martialed and hanged at Barakpur on 8th of April 1857.
After 1 month of this incident, on the 10th of May 1857, sepoys revolted in Meerut and that led to the outbreak of the First War of Independence in 1857. AIR News salutes the brave son of the soil.
We also pay tribute to Ropuiliani, the daring Mizo freedom fighter. Born in 1828, Ropuiliani was the daughter of a great Mizo chief, Lal Savunga, and was married to Wandula, an equally prominent chief of South Lushai Hills. In early 1890, the British started to establish supremacy over some Mizo regions. However, Mizo chiefs did not accept British authority.
Ropuiliani took the reins of principality after the death of her husband Wandula and began to rule from her village Ralwong. She challenged the British authority and encouraged people to disobey Britishers' diktats.
She told other chiefs who had joined the British,
"Even if you all surrender, I am here, the daughter of Lal Savunga. We will never surrender to foreign rulers."
She became a rallying point for Mizo principalities against the British.
Enraged by her resistance, the Britishers sent several campaigns to subdue her. In one such campaign, British Lieutenant Stewart, along with 2 soldiers, was killed. Ropuiliani and her son, Lal Suama, were accused of instigating other chiefs by the British. Later, the British were successful in arresting her. Even after her capture, Britishers feared that her presence, even as a captive in the area, would escalate tension and disaffection among the locals. Thus, from the 8th of April 1894, she was held captive for almost 2 years in Chittagong jail. Ropuiliani died in prison in 1895, leaving behind an inspiring legacy of our freedom struggle. We salute the great daughter of the soil.
We also remember Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay, also known as Bankim Chandra Chatterjee, who died on the 8th of April 1894. He is famous as the author of the national song of our country, Vande Mataram. Bankim Chandra Chatterjee was born on the 27th of June 1838 in Chobis Parganas district of Bengal. After his graduation, he was appointed as Deputy Collector in Bengal.
Bankim Chandra began his literary career as a writer of verse. His first Bengali novel, Durgesha Nandini, was published in 1865.
Bankim Chandra Chatterjee's most famous novel was Anandamath, which is based on the famous Sannyasi revolt. Anandamath contained the song Vande Mataram, which was later adopted as our national song. Bankim Chandra also wanted to bring about a cultural revival in Bengal. His novels have been translated in almost all the major languages of India. Bankim Chandra passed away on the 8th of April 1894. We salute the great nationalist. That brings us to the end of this episode of Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. See you in the next episode tomorrow.
The Army Ordinance Corps is celebrating its 247th Raising Day today. The Corps came into existence with the establishment of the Board of Ordnance on 8th of April 1775. The Corps is entrusted with the onerous task of managing a large and complex inventory and providing logistical support to the Army. In an exclusive message to All India Radio on the occasion, Lieutenant General R.K.S. Kushwaha, Director General Ordnance Services and Senior Colonel Commandant said that the Corps has taken quantum jump in the modernization and technological advancements in recent times.
Today, Army Ordnance Corps stands tall with niche in logistics and supply chain management. Besides advancements in the field of modernization. The Corps has effectively met the aspirations of the Army, enhancing our technical thresholds by imbibing new technologies and fresh ideas with an open mind to enable constant improvement in various facets of our functioning. We feel very proud to say that quantum leap has been taken towards automation of entire inventory through successful implementation of CICG Phase 1 and Phase 2 networking project. And we are on the threshold of Phase 3, ushering in pan-India connectivity.
Mentioning about the project Vispotak Mukt Bandargah, Lieutenant General R.K.S. Kushwaha said the Army Ordinance Corps has also risen on each occasion when called upon in aid to civil authorities.
The Corps has also risen on each occasion when called upon in aid to civil authorities. Project Operation Vispotak Mukt Bandargah was recently undertaken, wherein extremely hazardous ammunition, including RDX and TNT, was neutralized.
On to sports now. In Korea Open Badminton Championships, Kidambi Srikanth is now playing men's singles quarterfinal against Won Ho-san of Korea. PV Sindhu will also be playing her singles quarterfinal match in a short while from now. Sindhu takes on Thailand's Bosanan Ongbam-Runghan. Sindhu defeated Japan's Aya Ohori in straight sets 21-15, 21-10 in the pre-quarterfinal.
In IPL cricket, Lucknow Super Giants defeated Delhi Capitals by 6 wickets at the D.Y. Patil Stadium in Navi Mumbai last night. Chasing a target of 150 runs set by the Delhi Capitals, the Lucknow Super Giants made 155 for 4 in 19.4 overs with the help of Quinton de Kock's 80 runs. He was declared player of the match. Today, Punjab Kings will take on Gujarat Titans at Bravon Stadium in Mumbai. The match will begin at 7:30 this evening. The Indian women's hockey team is set to take on the world number 1, the Netherlands, in their next set of FIH Pro League matches, which start at the Kalanga Stadium in Bhubaneswar today.
And now let's take a look at the weather forecast for today. National capital Delhi is likely to witness heat wave. Temperature will vary between 20 and 41 degrees Celsius. Mumbai will have a mainly clear sky with temperatures hovering between 25 and 36 degrees Celsius. Chennai is likely to have a partly cloudy sky. Temperature will hover between 26 and 35 degrees Celsius. Kolkata will have a mainly clear sky and temperature will move from 27 to a maximum of around 34 degrees Celsius. Srinagar will have a mainly clear sky, becoming partly cloudy towards afternoon or evening. Jammu may have maximum of nearly 37 degrees Celsius temperature. Leh will have a partly clear sky with temperatures hovering between 4 and 17 degrees Celsius, while Gilgit will have a generally cloudy sky and Muzaffarabad will have a mainly clear sky, becoming partly cloudy towards the evening.
And now an overview of today's newspapers. All papers have made developments in Pakistan as their first headline. Hindustan Times writes, SC bouncer to Imran, can't evade trust vote. Opposition terms it victory of Pakistan constitution and institutions. The Asian Age headlines, huge blow to Imran as Pakistan's Supreme Court restores House trust vote tomorrow. Suspension of Russia from UNHRC is second major headline in today's papers. The Tribune headlines, Russia suspended from UNHRC. The Pioneer reports, don't align with Russia too closely, says US to India. A day after the Criminal Procedure Identification Bill passed in Rajya Sabha, The Hindu writes, Criminal Procedure Bill will create foolproof system. And finally, it's a proud Hindi moment, says Indian author on International Booker shortlist, headlines Hindustan Times about Gitanjali Shree's novel Ret Samadhi, translated as The Tomb of Sand by Daisy Rockwell, making it to the Booker shortlist.
And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. In a setback to Prime Minister Imran Khan, Pakistan's Supreme Court declares dismissal of no confidence motion as unconstitutional. Orders to hold trust vote tomorrow. Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana completes 7 years today. Home Minister Amit Shah says Hindi should be accepted as an alternative to English and not to local languages. Presides over 37th meeting of the Parliamentary Official Language Committee. Madras High Court upholds Tamil Nadu government's order giving 7.5% reservation to government school students for admission in MBBS and other medical courses. Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister Y. Jagan Mohan Reddy dissolves his cabinet to bring in new ministers. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar and Defence Minister Rajnath Singh to attend India-US 2+2 ministerial dialogue in Washington. UN General Assembly votes to suspend Russia from its Human Rights Council. U.S. Senate confirms Ketanji Brown Jackson as U.S. Supreme Court judge, the first black woman to be elevated to the post. In Korea Open Badminton, PV Sindhu and Kidambi Srikanth play their quarter-final matches today. And in IPL cricket, Lucknow Super Giants beat Delhi Capitals by 6 wickets. For details of these stories and more, log on to our website www.newsonair.com and News on AIR app. And with that, we end the morning news. Have a great day.